Greetings and happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to one and to all. Happy weekend and happy November. Perhaps it is Sunday, depending upon where you are on the globe. Please give yourselves a round of applause for making it to and through another day, because as we know, each day is a blessing. I pray that everyone has enjoyed the beginning of their weekends or whatever it is you have ventured out to do. I must say to please be careful. I can count thus far, and it's just the 1st of November, at least 10 accidents already, and 3 of them were within minutes of one another. I don't know if people are super anxious or if there is something else going on in the universe of spiritually. I'm going to go with the latter. But again, for those of you who are believers, just stay prayed up. Make sure you know where you are spiritually and dealing directly with the soul. This is not fear mongering. These are just my beliefs, because within my spirit, within my soul, there is definitely a paradigm shift, which has been happening if you paid attention. If you've really paid attention throughout the year. So, without further delay, let's get into this story. The 3rd officer that was convicted and spent jail time in the 2020. I cannot believe it's been that long. In the 2020 case of, and again, these are so sad, of George Floyd is set, to be released on Monday. Tou Thao. And it sounds just as I'm saying it, because I looked it up. I hate when I butcher people's names. So, Tou Thao. Now, that's not how, I haven't put the spelling up, but that's how you pronounce it. Tou Thao. Now, if someone comes back and says, you're wrong, don't blame it on me, blame it on my source. Has spent 57 months, or that's what he was jailed for, which is nearly 5 years. But of course, he did not obviously spend all of that time. Well, actually, near it. I'll just say near it. For his role, again, in the unaliving of George Floyd. Now, many of you, well, some of you, may remember that case. That's the case where Derek Chauvin was the officer that many saw, that horrific video where he kneeled on the neck of George Floyd for 9 minutes. And this is Derek Chauvin now. Derek, you look a little bit frightened in the eyes. Is that because of that incident that happened to you in jail? See, some of you police officers think that you're above the law. And unfortunately, some of you, things are a little bit different when you're behind bars. And I'm sure Derek Chauvin, you upstanding officer, you would probably trade what you're wearing now with what you were wearing before, when you proudly for 9 minutes had your knee on the neck of George Floyd. Now, let me say this before anyone pops up to my comments and talks about what he was doing and what he was accused of doing. George Floyd is no longer with us. George Floyd was not on trial. Derek Chauvin was, along with 2 other officers. And this one right here, Tou Thao. and that's what we're talking about, has served his sentence and is expected to be released on Monday. Now, his sentence was because he aided and abetted, and he curtailed bystanders from intervening when they saw what was happening to George Floyd. So, with that, the former Minneapolis police officer had to serve time in a Kentucky facility. And as I mentioned, he will be released according to reports. I implore you to always, always, always fact check because things may have changed. But again, aiding and abetting onlookers or bystanders or perhaps good Samaritans, whatever term you may want to use, when they saw what was happening to George Floyd, Tou Thao, who was the third officer, stopped them from intervening. The other officers, J. Alexander Kung, and I know I probably chopped his name up, and Thomas Long, they have already been released. So the last man standing or bending to pick up the soap is Derek Chauvin, who was given a whopping 21-year sentence. Okay? 21-year sentence. Bravo to you, jury, for violating the rights of George Floyd. And then he was convicted by the state for second-degree unaliving. Now, I'm not sure how many people saw the actual clip when the verdict was read, but this is the look that Derek Chauvin had in his eyes, and all I can think of is how hard that beat must have been beating for Derek Chauvin. Now, he has tried to appeal several times, and again, with the climate, with the current administration, we really don't know who may be pardoned. If you look, and I say this, and matter of fact, let me just pause this for a minute. Everyone just pay attention for a moment. Okay, that's George Floyd. Derek Chauvin. Again, you can do your research, and again, for those of you who can stomach watching that video, again, some of you evildoers out there may be able to do it. I cannot. But again, he's still behind bars, while the other three, as I mentioned, this is the last one. This is the last man who served time in jail as a result of the loss of life to George Floyd. And here's a little bit of backup. Chauvin, and that's the former police officer here. I know you missed that, don't you, Derek? Gave a guilty plea in 2022 for violating George Floyd's civil rights, and 21 years federal prison sentence was handed down to Derek Chauvin. As I mentioned earlier, at the mid part of the broadcast, he was also convicted of second-degree unaliving or red rum or the loss of life in state court. The other two ex-officers in, again, the loss of life as it relates to George Floyd. J. Alexander O'Kane and Thomas Lane have already been released from prison. Again, Tou Thao. I'm not how you spell his name right there, but it's pronounced Tao, like a Tao. Stopped bystanders from intervening on May 25th. Wow. So, yeah, maybe he did almost do the entire 5 years. On May 25th, that fateful May 25th in 2020, wow, fellow officer, I still cannot believe how some of these people, well, yes, I can, nepotism, and then poor vetting, and then again, just the system. Again, let's look at old Derek. Who knelt on the neck of George Floyd for over 9 minutes. So, that is the latest. That's the third officer who has paid their debt in the eyes of the law. We have to keep that in mind. It may not feel good. Sometimes it does not feel good to many people, but understand, under the law, he's paid his debt to society and is set to be released on Monday. Again, I will say this. Many people label law enforcement officers as evil and corrupt and devils and things of that nature. I have to say that I know quite a few in different capacities. That is not true of everyone. There's some of them, absolutely, and we've seen that just recently. It should not be in this profession whatsoever. And it's unfortunate that it's the good ones, the ones who actually take their oath serious, and they have lost their lives due to low life criminals. So again, before anyone jumps in my comments saying, oh, you're saying that, no, there's some lowlifes out there and they come in all colors. If there's my color, trust me, I'm going to talk about it. And I have. If you paid attention to my video bucket, there's a so-called self-proclaimed apostle who has just ripped so many of his followers off. It is ridiculous and deplorable. So I speak on everybody when it comes across my desk, even though it doesn't really come across my desk. I just like saying that. But no, I speak about anything that I feel is important that people should know. So my channel isn't all one race. No, I'm talking about everybody. And Tou Thao is not Caucasian, and he's definitely not black. He's Asian. So I've got a little bit of mixture in there. And I have a lot of Asian followers. I have followers from abroad. So again, and they have spoken about some of the atrocities in their countries that has taken me aback, because I just can't believe some of the things that people are facing worldwide. So, as the news goes on, and it's so much of it, Tou Thao, one of the four officers convicted in the unaliving of George Floyd in 2020, May 25th, 2020 to be exact, will be released on Monday. There was a clip that was shown where Tou Thao has said that he has, I don't want to say given his life to the higher power, but he could have, keep in mind, he really could have established a personal relationship with the Most High. That is not for me to say, and it's definitely not for me to judge. I can't judge that. I would not judge that. So, if that is true, Mr. Tao, I truly hope that you learned, and perhaps this experience could help someone in the future. Oftentimes, tragedy is actually a mold, it's a blueprint for, and it may seem difficult to hear and absorb, but in the grand scheme of things, sometimes tragedy is really the blueprint for the betterment. Not all stories end well, but if it brings more people to the Creator, if it saves more souls, then sometimes these casualties is what our destiny is from the beginning. Only the Most High knows that. So with that, everyone, enjoy the remainder of your Saturday. Again, this is a difficult day for many people, so all I can say to you is hold on to your faith and keep in mind, many people have faced trials and tribulations and they're resilient. Sometimes you have to be creative. Trust me, I am extremely creative and have learned how to stretch things like Stretch Armstrong, and I know that I am telling on my age. Again, hopefully, God willing, in 28 days, I will be 57. So I have a lot of experience and wisdom on this side. And I pray every day that I make it to paradise. So, no, I'm not a Bible thumper, and I'm not holier than thou because, again, I still have some things with me, but each day I'm learning and just appreciating everything. So again, everyone enjoy this Saturday, perhaps it's Sunday. Again, to those who are already in Sunday, and remember, it's November. This year, 2025, is just about gone. Just about gone. Have you reached any goals that you have set for yourself? Are you making plans for 2026? Or are you planning? Are you preparing mentally and physically for what's to come? Ask yourself those questions. Meditate on them. Make a plan if you haven't already. It is better, in my opinion, to be prepared and have things set just in case you need them. It's almost like insurance. A lot of times people will pay on insurance for years and years and years and years and years and never, ever, ever have to use it. But in 25 years, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, something will happen. And guess what? They'll have to use it. And it will be there in the event you have to use it. That is what proper planning is all about. Now, some of you may say, have you been doing that? Nope. I'm learning it. And I've done pretty well, but there are some things I still haven't planned for. So that's why I'm telling you, don't you get yourselves in some of the situations I've been in and start screwing around. No, that's not a good feeling at all. All right, I'm done for now. Again, Tou Thao, one of the four officers convicted in the unaliving of George Floyd in 2020, is set to be released on Monday. To you, Tou Thao, as I said, only you know the relationship with the Most High. I pray that you're genuine because that's just something I don't play with. Trust me, I just don't play with that. Enjoy your freedom. And as I mentioned earlier, make something good out of something bad. Thank you to everyone that supported and all of you that are sending early birthday wishes. I appreciate each and every one of you. And those that might send negative messages, you know what? I appreciate you too. Because sometimes I actually sit down and think about it and say, maybe they have a point. Maybe not. Until next video, you know the drill. Please be safe. Please be well. And be healthier mentally, physically, and emotionally. Until next time, bye bye for now.